Leslie Wilcox here. Welcome to our fourth video in this series. This one is on change management and capability development. I'm just looking at the first quotes in this chapter 5 of our book, and the two quotes I'd like to give you here just to underline what we mean by change management, why it's important. One is Edgar Schein, who said, "Culture determines and limits strategy." The other one is my own quote from a 1987 book, "Organizational politics breed in times of technological change." Now, the point here is that with RPA, a lot of people are getting buried in the technology and the issues surrounding the technology. But the more you ramp up RPA, the more people are affected, the more you become strategic, the more it's about change management. So if you're going to institutionalize fast and do managing change well, you really have to take on board a number of action principles and not get buried into the technology. So one of the issues that we see is that people don't communicate well with clarity early enough to all the stakeholders what the intentions are. The thing that people hate most of all in organizations is uncertainty. So you've got to give them clarity and certainty, even if it's not a pleasant message. Now, in most cases, it's going to be a relatively pleasant message about the nature of change with our robotic process automation. So if you look at this diagram, you can honestly claim, from our research anyway, that the technology will result in less repetitive, boring work. It will enable people to learn new skills and new roles. The robots will become co-workers, helping you to do things that you don't really want to do and doing them much more quickly than you and tirelessly. It will enable your staff to focus on customer services and things that really people are much better at, playing to human strengths and skills at work. And additionally, you'll be relating yourself to the future, the future use of technology, and in many cases we've seen people recognized as innovators within their organizations, connected with better rewards than they were getting before. So you can honestly claim all these things quite early on about your RPA project and program. But you do need very clear messages, because one of the fears that people will have is about job loss, job attrition, or job change. Now, our experience of this is that in actual fact, organizations have been treating this in a very interesting way. First of all, we're not seeing massive job loss so far from the application of robotic process automation. And organizations seem to proceed, as you can see on this diagram, in the following way. They first of all focus on natural attrition. They then also focus on redeploying staff to other jobs or restructured jobs, or where they've combined in a different way, different tasks, different process management. The next thing that they usually do on their HR policy is, if they need to, they remove the full-time equivalent work from their outsourcing providers and change the onshore-offshore mix, bringing more work back onshore. And it's only then that redundancy or early retirement seems to be part of the HR policy, i.e. it's the last thing that these companies do. And we're not talking just about leader companies. I think only in our survey, about 22% of organizations were actually asking for early retirement or actually making people redundant. Amongst the leaders, it was down as low as 11% of organizations were having that experience. So there's this component of change management that is very important here. The other thing that is important is while you're changing the organization and changing the way that work is organized, is to build up your capabilities to do RPA and automation and build up the new world. So when you look at the next diagram, which is about capabilities in terms of management and roles, you'll see a sort of house, the house of RPA, if you like, or the center of excellence. And what is interesting in that figure is, first of all, I can assure you that you will never be strategic if you don't have the top 4 capabilities in place, which are all business orientated. So just reading them, they're business sponsors, subject matter experts, program champion, and executive champions from the business's C-suite. That gives you the strategic dimension to your activities. On the other hand, you won't actually execute very successfully if you don't have all the other capabilities in place, by which I mean RPA team leads, business process architect, RPA developers, RPA quality assurance and continuous improvement, RPA controllers, and people with IT expertise that is relevant to what you're trying to achieve. The final thing I would mention on this introductory video is that it's about cultural change. And we have a very complex diagram, which I'll show you here. And I'm always very reluctant to present this in conferences because explaining what organizations have to do is a highly complex business. And I'm not going to explain here what you have to do, but I can pretty well assure you that you have to do this. Unfortunately, the reality is a bit more complex than we would like it to be, but the good news here in this diagram is that there are only a couple of things that you can't influence. The first one is the dynamic, complex environment in which you operate. The second thing is what we call people's psyches, i.e. how they are set up in their mind in terms of what their desires are, their fears are, what they will resist, what they defend. It's very difficult to change that very, very quickly. But everything else is up for management, including changing the culture over time, how things are done around here, what the rules of the game are, what people want to believe, how they want to behave. You can change that, and that's one of the first things you have to do, because in another phrase, I think it was Peter Drucker said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So don't let culture eat your strategy for breakfast. Make sure that you've got the changes in the culture that will support the other aspects of the diagram there, because you will need to optimize the relationship between your technology and processes. You will need to optimize your relationship between what you're trying to achieve in business and digital strategy and automation strategy, and what enabling structures you put in place. You need to align your reward systems to make sure that the right behavior is going to occur. You'll need to build management skills. You'll need to build teams in the new configurations to support the human-machine capability that you're inventing in order to get the serious, superior business value that the leaders are getting who have gone through this kind of process.